Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we will take a look at Pandora's Actor's abilities and limitations as a greater doppelganger. But before we do so, I say thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel. First and foremost, let's start where we left off, with Pragmatism, as well as the specifics of it. Because while Pandora's Actor's Pragmatism is definitely a core character trait of him, it doesn't stem from the disregard of others, like it is the case for Mare, but in fact it comes from the opposite direction, a very keen interest in the thoughts, ideas, and beliefs of those around him, and how to use all of it to his own advantage. A mindset which most likely comes naturally with the specific type of heteromorph Pandora's Actor is, because he is a greater doppelganger. And the German word Doppel means double, and the German word Ganger means walker. Basically it is the concept of walking a mile in another's boots taken to the extreme, because Pandora is essentially able to mimic any creature he comes across. For example, this cute dog right here. And he is not only shape-shifting, but also stat-shifting, meaning that most of his values will be redistributed, albeit in such a way that the copy is roughly 20% weaker than the original. And as a heteromorph who got 45 levels in doppelganger classes, he can assume the form of 45 different beings, 1 level per class, so 1 additional being for 1 additional level. But with that said, he was created by Ainz Ooal Gown to specifically mimic every one of the 41 Supreme Beings. And as such, the majority of his transformation slots, so to say, are like the fortress city of Irantel, permanently and irrevocably occupied. Though with that said, it seems that Pandora's Actor can still transform into other persons, if the entity exists and had previous contact with the greater doppelganger. So maybe the 45 forms he can assume are just the permanent slots that can be recalled even if the being that is imitated is a dimension apart, and while not occupied, the 4 remaining slots are of a temporary nature. Therefore I would assume that after they are filled with 4 different transformations, Pandora's Actor, like a Pokemon, has to forgot one of his temporary transformations in order to learn another, while the 41 transformations into the Supreme Beings are like HMs, and thus can't be unlearned by him. Now let's also talk about how Pandora's Actor is likely able to not only copy the body, but also the behavior patterns, speech patterns, and any of the behavioral characteristics of his chosen person. And while there are different theories out there, the most commonly accepted theory how Pandora's Actor was able to, for example, deceive Sebas and essentially anybody that has not a special relationship with the entity currently imitated, that the actor is capable of mind reading, based on the read thoughts ability of the doppelganger from Dungeons and Dragons. And he presumably does this by skimming over the thoughts, the feelings and the expectations of anybody around him, in order to behave exactly like the person close to the disguised Pandora's Actor would expect them to behave. For example, if Pandora's Actor would imitate Remedios in order to scare Nea, then he would transform himself into Remedios, equip her, well, her equipment, and then, at the very first second of their meeting, read the mind of the blind evangelist, in order to behave exactly as Nea would expect Remedios to behave. Fun fact, while researching this video I stumbled upon a D&D Reddit thread where the DM asked how he should acquire the surface thoughts of his players, while the doppelganger in his stories are trying to summon a Death Knight. Now this is an odd coincidence. In essence, Pandora's Actor, with the ability to mimic any one of the 41 Supreme Beings, as well as having the strength, versatility, intel, and intelligence at hand to infiltrate essentially any organization, Pandora's Actor is not only one of the most useful NPCs in general, but also can potentially replace any of the other NPCs, including Demiurge, and especially Albedo, because her job got a whole lot easier thanks to Renna. And essentially there are only a couple of situations where this approach of mimicking can be undermined or discovered. The first one would be magic, especially super tier magic, and extra specially wild magic or world item magic. If there's a world item spell called Detect Fraud, then Pandora's Actor alongside certain assets of Shal tier might be discovered as not actually that what they are pretending to be. Secondly, and this will be a long one, when Pandora's Actor is trying to mimic the creator of an entity in front of its creation, it will fail. For example, Albedo was, after a brief moment of awe, able to discern that this being in front of her isn't her creator, but something else. But even so, she wasn't able to figure out who he is. And while Albedo would probably be able to figure out eventually that it was the greater doppelganger Pandora's Actor who mimicked her creator, because he would be the only entity in the treasury vault capable of doing so, she nonetheless wouldn't be able to know who was behind the double tabula if Pandora's Actor had chosen to appear as Tabula Smaragdina somewhere in the Forest of Top, for example, since in that case Albedo would only know that this isn't Tabula Smaragdina, with no clue whatsoever who transformed into her creator, and even that would only be possible if she was there as an eyewitness. If she heard only through some non-Tabula related NPC about disappearance in the Forest of Top, then she might actually believe that Tabula Smaragdina had returned. And if any other Supreme Being was mimicked, then she might not be able to tell the difference at all. Although after the incident in the Treasury Vault, she might be able to discern that other Supreme Beings suddenly reappearing might be Pandora's Actor as well. And here's another interesting line of thought. If Pandora's Actor mimics Tabula Smaragdina again, and is confronted by Albedo, and let's say one other Floor Guardian that wasn't created by Tabula, Cocytus for example, then Pandora's Actor would need only to cater to the expectation of Cocytus. And here's the thing, what Cocytus thinks and believes about Tabula Smaragdina might not necessarily be what the actual Tabula Smaragdina is, how he behaved, what his thoughts and feelings were really about. For example, with Cocytus being an honorable warrior, in his mind Tabula Smaragdina and the Supreme Beings in general might be a bit more honorable and warrior-like than they actually were, simply because Cocytus is biased. And these inconsistencies would be something that Albedo would also be able to notice, since she as Tabula's creation could probably pick up the difference. And it would probably enrage her, especially if Cocytus believes that Pandora's impersonation is the real Supreme Being. And if this is indeed the case, then Cocytus will in all likelihood take orders from Pandora's Actor, as long as he is disguised. So in essence, bad news for Albedo's conspiracy. And we might already have seen an example of this, while Demiurge, Solution Epsilon and Cocytus were obviously briefed about how Seba's test of loyalty would work, and that Cocytus had to block Seba's punch. The Guardian of the 5th floor might not necessarily have been aware that the being he takes orders from isn't Ainz, but Pandora's Actor. In fact, besides Demiurge, no one else might have known about this exchange. Alternatively, everybody, including Solution Epsilon, were entirely aware that this isn't the real Ainz, and the real Ainz Ooal Gown had just ordered them to play along. But still, overall Pandora's Actor might be able to act as any Supreme Being, undetected, as long as he doesn't run into any NPCs that were created by the Supreme Being he's currently impersonating. And while this would be a next to impossible task inside the Great Tomb of Nazarick, outside the tomb in a fixed constellation of people, for example an absolute elite unit, led by a not necessarily honest Floor Guardian Overseer, this might be a real possibility. In fact, Pandora's Actor might have tried to check how his doppelganger abilities work in the new world during the confrontation with Albedo, and what limitations they have, just like Ainz Ooal Gown, his creator, tested how magic worked in the new world shortly after his arrival in the amphitheatrum by casting Fireball. Again, Pandora's Actor would have the intelligence and strategic foresight to plan that far ahead, and Maruyama, the author, would most certainly be able to construct such a plot from the very beginning, in order to let it affect the very ending of Overlord. But even though he could potentially fool anyone other than Ainz, because of the connections between creator and created, If Pandoras Actor changes in front of Cocytus back into his original form, or from his original form into a Supreme Being, or between the Supreme Beings, then Cocytus will in all likelihood see through the disguise, and notice that the person in front of him isn't a Supreme Being, but a Doppelganger, and therefore nobody that he should take orders from. At least this is my theory how such a thing would go down. And with that said, I hope to see you all again in the second sub-part of my Pandora's video. Thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Adam J, Al Capone, Andy, Angel of Death, Bedgar Yee, Boyzilla, Chrissy, Diabetic Centaur, Dystopia, Elika Birchleaf, Thales Catus, Feral Shivan, Gigafight, Ghost of Epicness, Hector Marino, Black Phoenix Emperor, Hoss, Jana B, Jason, Kleinator, Chromius, Large, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lord Ulbert Lane Oddle, Luces Ollie, Lexus Fox, Majima, Matt C, Marcos, Mr. Shoes, Mindless Wrath, Minu 13, Mirtis, Nfirias Potion, Primus 11, Sasuga Einsama, Sebastian, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Surge, Sparkly Unicorn, The Orc Warboss Rock Ad Smasher, Vash Hawkeye, Zoggo Bane of a Lot, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, over and out.